Well, what do you know? Look who it is. It's me, Charlie Greer Podcast. Like, share, subscribe, comment. You want to support this shit show? In the description, there's Zelle information. So let's do this. Yeah, so this one's called Billy Corgan Sends Lawyers. So what he did was he sent his lawyers to uh sicked his attorneys on his own band member. So let me explain how I'm involved. So we had my little dog. So we had my band Love Engineer. We had management out of Chicago, booking our gigs, and we were set to play. I think it was like a Halloween or something at Crowbar, and I don't know if we headline. Anyway, we were like, there was a band called Shepherds of Hot Pavement on the gig. And so the drummer of Smashing Pumpkins had like a small label or whatever, and that was one of the bands he signed. I think they were from like Atlanta, Georgia, or something. And just to be honest, by then I didn't know about any of this shit. I'm told where to go, hop in the van, get in there. The night before we played somewhere else. I didn't got time for this Mickey Mouse bullshit about. So we get there to like 3 or 4 in the afternoon. Load in the sound check. And it's all happening. Like, I feel like, what's going on here? And it literally was the cattiest, bitchiest thing. Well, see, now Billy Corgan, singer, Smashing Pumpkins, his drummer, the label. And then Billy's mad that he used some kind of promotional, I don't even know, because they'd made posters and handbills and all this other. We're like, what? And the lawyers might show up. Oh, come on. They're not going to show up. I mean, doesn't he have something better to do? This was like 93. They had a big album out. Go after your own drummer. I mean, shit on his parade, snitch on it, all that wrapped up in one big bow of fucking, So we're just kind of, again, there's a lot of drama, and I couldn't believe that, like, just let it, man, come on, man. Like, this is going to be a big gig. It was like a Friday or Saturday night. Or that day. It was going to be, that night concert. And by then, I just couldn't take it was exhaust you. And that's what people with no talent do. They have to come up with all this other horse shit, social shit. Yeah, that's even that. Fucking Billy Corgan sicking lawyers on his own drummer, Jimmy Chamberlain. So Jimmy shows up, and it's just, and we're just trying to get our sound check done or whatever. And sure enough, the lawyers show up. Like, they come into the place. And since we were on the flyer too, right? Our logo or picture, whatever it was, well, they're coming after us. Hey, cease and desist. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, I remember on stage, they came up and we just stopped, and they had, the guy had, like, the lawyer had like a stack this big of these these postcards, which I'd never even seen. Again, I'm not, they're promoting, we had management by then. I don't know what's going on. I mean, I get the idea, how many gigs we got, where am I supposed to be, And he hands me this stack about like this thick. He looks at it, he's like, yeah, you can't use these, as he's handed them to me. So I just threw them up in the air. It looked like it was raining. Like, it was just crazy. And by then, people were showing up, other band guys, and and what I was thinking, they were saying, like, why would he be doing this? Why would you do something so uncool to someone in your own band? Everybody's going to know about this. Again, people relish in this. He was relishing. This is his moment. Forget about the money he's made in this, whatever. Oh, no. His true talent is aggravation, and again, to your own band member. And then it trickles down to the other band, and somehow we just got caught up again in life. And when you're in a band and all this, whatever kind of creative stuff, you're gonna get mixed in with these nimcompoops. Now they come and go, but like I said, it was just a gig to me. Granted, it's a pretty cool gig, and we were a Champaign-Urbana band. We weren't from Chicago. They were trying to say, hey, Chicago band. We weren't. We never lived in Chicago. Our management was in Chicago. And that's another thing. They didn't like our manager and this, that, and all these backstory. It was just, dude, it's rock and roll. Don't involve, don't come at me. I don't care. Because all that day doing the load in and sound check, they're like, did you hear it? I don't want to know, man. I'm not trying to be cooler than now, but it's like, that to me is cowardly bullshit, creating problems. Obviously, he wanted to create a problem. I mean, come on. So the lawyers, how much they were paying. I mean, he went out of his way to get this shit done. So we ended the sound check and whatever. We're hanging out in the club. And I heard like, Billy Corgan's out there. So everybody goes to the front, and I'm following the fool. Like, yeah, I'll go out there, see what's going on. Because a couple guys, I forgot who they were. I don't know if they were. Somebody wanted to kick some ass. So I was like, motherfucker, I ain't, and I forgot who it was, club bouncer, who knows? When we're going out there and seeing Billy Corgan, like beside his like brand new, the biggest, douchiest BMW you could get. And here he is acting like Ernest is Winnie the Pooh and entertain. He's got like the douchiest with a sunroof, a big old BMW. And talking to some of these lawyers, and it's kind of like, ha, ha, ha. And then that look when you realize, here comes these dudes. He tucked tail and ran, and I don't blame him. He got in his BMW, who's gone? And I remember just looking at it like, how pathetic do you have to be, man? Like, I don't want anything extra. For one, I hate that band. Smashing Pumpkins are one of the worst bands ever in my mind. His voice is the most nauseating, toxic. Even in his voice, there's tells. It's like, whiny ass. Just, I can't take it. I mean, I saw these guys before they were signed, like in the late 80s in Champaign, like Tritos Uptown somewhere. Matter of fact, I saw them when he actually had long hair, and they were kind of a trippy, kind of tie-dye band, like velvety pants, like, who is this? They suck. And if I'm not mistaken, like the Digits or Titanic Love Affair mowed them down. If they're like funk reels, whatever the hell they were doing. I didn't like the name. I didn't like the band. I wasn't a fan. And then by like 93, it's just like, oh God, you can't get away. They were a big band. It's all over the radio. It's fucking shoot me in the head. Dear Lord, the vocals suck. The fucking guitar tone sucked. That kind of big muff, one trick pony, just horrible. If you're not a musician, you might. It's the worst. I mean, in my humble opinion. I mean, some people, I'm sure. They're a big band, And I've never told this story, but outside like the band world. And one of the reasons I'm telling it is because like yesterday, I think it was, I came across. I guess they're playing live. I was like, oh, let's just see this shit show, and I click on it. And he had a dude. I was like, who is this old man? Is this Peter Gibb? No, it's Billy Corgan in like some kind of onesie, looking like a fucking guru. Fat head was so big. His head, I don't know what the steroids for your head or something. And all his body language, like he don't like what he's doing. There's not enough Lexapro to pump in that motherfucker to. He's not happy. And I was laughing my ass off. It's like, dude, you deserve everything that's coming at you. You can't keep up. Again, you can't keep up with shit. This is fucking what? Almost 30 years ago when this happened. So I thought, you know what? I'll come on here and rant like a madman about it. Why not? Who cares? So yeah, then he tucks tails and runs in his BMW, And again, people are just like, why would he do this? Why would he's claiming he didn't want any attention about, and I guess he was mad because the drummer's label had mentioned on the flyer like Jimmy Chamberlain from Smashing Pumpkins. Something, I don't even know what in their logo. Who gives a shit? Like, again, I was just seeing this stuff. Like, you show up and there's like, oh, posters and there's handbills and I'm not. I wasn't handing that shit out. I didn't make it. I didn't even know who was on the bill that night. You just kind of show up. I mean, I might have been told like, oh yeah, it's a record release party for so and so. Who, I don't know. Who cares? I don't know the band. I mean, I'm not trying to be rude, but you can't keep up with that. I think that year in '93 we did over 150 gigs for an independent band. We weren't in a tour bus. We had like 2 vans and God knows what, people's cars and girlfriends and roadie, whatever. And so that night, again, and it popped off. It was nice. It was a great gig. I think it was sold out. And Crowbar's huge. It's like this old factory. And I met everybody that night. It turned out to be an amazing night. I met Chris Farley, got to party with Chris Farley. I met Jim Ellison, ended up hanging out with him most of the night. And in my opinion, they should have got more. Material Issue should have got way more exposure. I mean, they're a little poppy. But at the time, the early '90s, they were my favorite, like, alternative band. Like, whatever was going on then, I thought Material Issue were my, even though I was in like a heavier band, I love that poppy shit. And he was like, shot. I go, dude, we it was a cassette. I go, in the band van, we're listening to International Pop Overthrow. And that was the album they had out. He's like, no way. Like, I took him in the back of Crowbar, and he's like, oh my God, you guys you're fans. And he kind of was like, I'm not into heavy music, So we had our merch table there. We had like CDs and t-shirts. And he ended up, after our gig, which was a great gig, he ended up hanging out. Like, him and I drank all night. And I had heard horrible stuff about him, but great stuff about Billy Corgan. That's another thing. It's like all this stuff you hear, and then the people, it's not what you think. I thought Jim he was a cool dude. And I remember even after the show, he was like, dude, I'm not really into that heavy, but man, your band is amazing. Or it's like, thanks, and hanging out and hung out all night. And this the douchebaggery of again, maybe socially he's not capable of just being like a normal person that doesn't have to bellyache and control the situation, aggravation, and steal people's fun and all this other shit. Again, I didn't care about Smashing Pumpkins. I thought they were a joke. They suck, in my humble opinion. I mean, I'm entitled to my opinion. I thought all that '90s, everything it stood against everything I believe in. Putting all your eggs in one basket, that whole country kind of thing. Where like, everybody was trying to be one. What about the other? You just can't. You can't make everything a goulash. And once one thing fucks up, it's all mixed together and everything goes. No, they didn't have any foresight. I used to write for a fan. That's another thing. All of a sudden in the '90s, all these made, these labels, you're dealing with people that work at these labels, and they're like, well, I used to work at a fanzine, or I managed a record store. Like, you don't have a track record, man. You don't even know what debit and credit is. You just think, well, they're cool. Again, it's a business. What a con that was. If they hadn't been these people, like this ungrateful idiots, I might appreciate the con. I like a good con, hey, you got over on them, but not, So the gig goes on. It was a good gig. I mean, I met like John Cusack, Uma Thurman that night. I met Chris Farley. It was on. It was a party. Like, we had a great time. We drank till like 3 or 4 in the morning and got back to Champaign at like, the next, it's crazy. And probably had another gig that night or the next, whatever. And again, we didn't, as we got sucked in to this situation. We had nothing to do with it. Sending lawyers to a club. I mean, come on, man. Is that what you're going to do? Obviously you did. That's your, let me see what I can do. Let me see I'll do the douchiest thing, the most passive aggressive that again, seeing him, the true him out standing by a BMW. And the whole time, if you see an interview with him, oh no, so you're driving a fucking brand new BMW. God knows where you're living. I got to give it to him. He was by himself. Billy Corgan was by himself, which I guess but then again, that's kind of pathetic. You're by yourself, and the only people you're talking to are these lawyers you're paying probably $1,000 an hour to come to Crowbar, which was like in a bad industrial area during the day. To do what? The gig's already on. I mean, they were trying to stop the gig. Like, he's like, all the while, everybody's talking about, you shot yourself in the foot again, I guess. His band members were there. Again, I heard Jimmy. This is like kind of like, damn, like what the fuck did I do? Then the other two, whoever they are, the only one who wasn't there was him, and I'm sure he was just, it doesn't matter. I'm wet hand. Just I couldn't stop the gig. Just dumbass. And later on, okay, so maybe about 2 weeks later, we started getting letters from like one of them, and I couldn't believe this, was from Joe Shanahan, I think his name was. He owned like the Metro, which is like a big, Chicago. He's got bigger fish to fry, but he wrote a letter to us, like scolding your band sucks, you sound like shit, you'll never play here, but Billy's my friend, Again, I don't know Billy Corgan and I don't know Joe Shanahan. We were like, what? Like, it was like a little, like they mailed it. We had a band house, and we had, you could mail us stuff and, whatever. They mailed a letter. And I remember we got it, and we were supposed to be rehearsing that night. And we just like drank beer and sat in the living room, the four of us in Lovinger, just like laughing our asses off, breaking down all the lines and just how it was a malicious letter, Who has the time to, And of course, what did I do? I take it on stage and read it to like 700 people at Mabel's or wherever the fuck we were playing. I said, hey, between, third or fourth songs, like, look, you guys are going to love this. I made it a thing. I might even mention it because we were getting interviewed in fanzines and stuff too. I might even mention it or let them. So we let it be known. And somewhere there's this letter. Maybe it's in my store. I don't know. I'd love to find it. Yeah, getting letters from, I remember Joe was the biggest one, but all these other, like, you're never going to play. Like, dude, we don't need to play the Metro. Granted, I love the Metro. I've seen shows there. Never played there. But we played Crowbar. Who gives a fuck about the Metro when you're playing Crowbar? Again, we're playing we don't care. Whether we do or we don't, it's like you might not, again, they're probably thinking, you don't exist. Okay? Whether you think, yes, I'm going to write this, it doesn't matter. What are you going to get out of it? And someone along the line, maybe a year later, I think he wrote another letter, like apologizing, kind of like, hey, sorry. Because it's a small world. We know who we this, that, and the other. And, so yeah, I mean, maybe he got a hold of our management, like, look, water under the, sorry. You guys want to play the Metro? Like, no. Nah, because we were doing pretty good business. I mean, locally, we're selling a lot of units. And when I say a lot, meaning we kept track of this and all this stuff, but we were averaging like 10 CDs a shop a week. Now, that don't sound like much, but we charted regionally. Independently, we did this. We didn't have Sire records and this, that, and the other thing, and had to, homosexual favors or whatever the fuck they're doing. We were actually like a real band. We didn't have this kind of consortium of con men behind us and holding people back and all that. No, we were just doing our thing. And in reality, that's what should be done. You should be able to just mosey along and do your. And I have those printouts from charting. We charted like in Champaign-Urbana, we charted in Peoria, Bloomington, Danville, Terre Haute, Indiana, like all over. We were selling CDs, and we worked hard to do it. And again, all we had was like one manager, the band, and like roadies. We didn't have all this, a lot of people don't want to talk about certain things and you end up doing better than them. A quick story: when I moved to Los Angeles and I got started La Mata with Sean from the Asexuals, we started doing pretty good. I mean, not good, and we were playing the clubs with these other bands. And I won't name the band, but we'd played with them a few times. And somehow he's like, hey, can I come over to check out how you guys operate? Because me and Sean were like, yeah, during the day we work in calling clubs and this, that, blah, blah, blah. So this dude comes over. And at first he was kind of open and like, hey, yeah, I go, what do you guys do? And he's like, what is your band budget? How much you guys spending a month? Like, who asked that, But, okay, well, we rent this rehearsal room with like 2 other bands. So it's about, wasn't that much we were spending. It was like $300 or $400 a month just getting like rehearsals and And the guy was blown away and kind of pissed. And he just came out and said, he's like, man, I get a monthly stipend from my family for $10,000 a month to spend on the band. That's not my rent. He was a rich guy, rich kid. I was like, $10,000 a month. And you can't even do what we're doing. You can't even, $10,000 a month. Dude, save that money. What is that? $120,000 a year or something? In your shitty band? I mean, that's just, and this is back in like late 90s, $10,000 a month. And then he wished he hadn't said that, because that kind of opened the floodgates of me and Sean is kind of attacking this dude. And he left. Matter of fact, I never saw the guy again. We never played with his band. Again, he couldn't wrap his head around. Basically, you're basically just cultivating fans, using the law of attraction, like attracting people that like you. No, to him is just all like money. Like, how much money are you gonna? And of course, they had management and all this others. $10,000 a month. Couldn't draw flies with shit, basically. And again, he was pissed at like, how do you guys? What you? And he goes back to the whole Billy Corgan thing. Like, he in my world. Again, I don't want to know him, anybody behind him. I don't want to know you. I don't give a fuck how, who, what, where, And after seeing that video yesterday of Billy Corgan, I feel sorry for him, man. He ain't doing too good. I mean, we're basically the same age. Look at him and look at me. I mean, again, I thought, who is this old fucker in his one suit, like looking like some kind of, half-assed Paramahansa Yogananda, In his mind, he probably thinks I'm great. But I could read him like a book, man. He's miserable. He don't like himself. He don't like what he's doing. He probably, I mean, there's probably a million people could tell a story like I'm telling right now. Had to deal with this big baby, you know, trying to shut down a club gig for bands. In his world, we don't exist. Again, it goes both ways. Like I think it was the Siamese Dream album or something. They were selling millions of records. They were all over Rolling Stone cover, you know. Yeah, go nitpick the little, go stomp on the anthill. That's what you that'll help. This shit all comes back to roost. Yeah, you can make a lot of money and this, that, and the other, but it's not even, again, it isn't like people are coming at him. It's you. You can't hide from you. Wherever you go, there you are. And it's a cult. It builds, it progresses. You got to keep, hey, not to get too deep, but people like that. When you aggravate people and you do certain things, there's lactic acid that's released in your shoulders. And I hate that feeling, that kind of, people love that. That defines them. He's like an emotional sadist. Can you imagine have to be like, and of course the drummer probably is like, look, man, I'm getting a paycheck here. I don't want to quit the band. Eventually he did. I guess they had some problems, but he was cool with me. Again, I didn't know the band. A lot of times when you show up at gigs, you don't know. Like you introduce it, sound check. Hey, I'm so and so. Okay, we're playing tonight. Okay, great, right? Some people are cool. Some people aren't. Whatever. You just move on. I got to the point where I didn't want to know these people. I mean, I got my own problems. There's always some kind of drama at a sound check. And that's a compensation. Like people create problems. Well, see, that's why I'm pissed off. These problems, yeah, that you created. Yeah, Billy Corgan, now morbidly obese. Should I, unhealthy. God forbid something happens to the poor bastard, though. I mean, live and let live. I think this is kind of funny, these things that happen. And obviously they think people aren't going to talk about it, which I didn't. Like, I'm not going to, who would want to be connected to the Smashing Pumpkins? I mean, shit. Can you imagine being a fan of the Smashing? I mean, again, they might be the best thing in the world. I mean, I don't know. I just can't take his vocals. I can't. A lot of that whiny 90s. It's cool that I can't sing. Okay. Like there was a lot of bands in Champaign-Urbana where just like they couldn't sit, tone deaf. And some of these bands like signed major label contracts and like, I don't want to get into that. But basically they sounded like Fred Schneider of the B-52s. This Love Shack, baby. Like you listen to some of those bands. This tone deaf. Fred Schneider is a better singer than these people. Listen to some of the Champaign-Urbana bands that were around at the time. Listen like to one of their choruses. They're not, again, you don't want to be perfect, operatic, but you want to, a little funk on you, but you don't want to be, well, a lot of times at these gigs, they would play so loud, their guitar, it was a compensate. You couldn't hear what they're, hey, it's a tone deaf rant, bitchy, represents everything that I despise about, music. And I hated that 90s shit. That's shoegazing. I'm going to complain about my daddy or whatever. Pearl Jam and the fucking Nirvanas and all that shit. Just horrible. And honestly, shouldn't even have been. If you want to kill something, you just promote that. Where did it get them? That was the beginning of the end. I lived through the 80s. I remember how cool things were, and even in the early 90s. And here comes all this alternative kind of, again, using covet means a lot of these people I've never met. keep my name out of your mouth kind of thing. Can barely draw 70 people to a class. It's the same 70 people they went to school with or whatever. And their family has lawyers, so they can afford, say, I got to. Or if I can love engineer, we got sent a contract. We were, stuff was starting to happen for us. We were thought, even though we were like selling out clubs and generating commerce, helping, the ball roll. These lawyers in Champaign wouldn't, like that. No, we weren't cool enough for them. Like they turned our money away. Okay, we'll just go to Chicago or St. Louis. We'll go. And in the end, they're all like, "Well, what happened? You guys didn't use. You know what? Like they want to project onto you, pass the buck back to you, like we did something." Just horse shit. I wish people could go back there and see how cool it was, and just, oh my God, like here it comes. No, yeah, it's coming. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, what are you going to do? Thank you guys for listening to me rant. Again, like, share, and subscribe. If you want to support this shit show, in the description, there's Zelle information. Oh, and later on today, we're doing a cooking with Scotty Beers. I think we're going to do, what are we doing? Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. Ooh, yummy. And I'm hungry, so yeah, we'll be doing that. So later on, I'm going live again later today. I love y'all. Be blessed. See you later. Cheers.